friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to talk about my favorite sugars to store. And since I recently did that video on my favorite types of fats to store up, I thought why not do one on my favorite types of sugars to store up on. Now before I get into that, yes, sugar does have a place in our lives. It's not something that we need to live in fear of. God made it. He created it through honey, through sugar cane, through fruits, and even sugar beets. It's not the sugar so much we have to be afraid of. It is how it is grown, how it is processed, and how much we consume. It does have a place in our lives though. And even if you are keto or diabetic, sugar can still have a place in your food storage for various things. Because remember, we also have to think of other people besides ourselves when it comes to things that we're putting up. For example, you have to have sugar when you're making vinegar or wines, and honey for making meads. So even if you don't consume sugar, when you make vinegar, when the process is done, there's no longer any sugar in it, and then that vinegar can be beneficial to you even if you're diabetic or keto. So let's go ahead and get on to the types of sugars that I store, why and what I use them for. So let's start with the most used one. And one of the reasons this is the most used one is it goes well with everything, and it is the cheapest out of all the ones that I store up on, and that is the organic cane sugar. And yes, I do like to get it from Costco. It's one of the several things that I can order through their online store, and it's actually pretty close to the same price on the online store as it is in the physical store, and I get it shipped directly to my door. Sugar cane, as of yet, is still non-GMO. As far as I know, it still is. So cane sugar, when you're buying just basic sugar, is what you want to look for. If a package is just labeled as white sugar and it doesn't say cane sugar, that means it came from sugar beets, and the chances are very high that unless otherwise stated, those are genetically modified beets that it came from. So that's why you have to be careful of what kind of white sugar you're buying. So one thing I like about the organic cane sugar is that, you know, the blonde color means there's still some minerals left in it, but not so high that I can't use it in fermenting. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. And of course, it doesn't have an overpowering flavor or color, so it goes well in anything. Whether you're making a light colored dish like maybe a coconut cream pie or a raspberry cream pie, and you don't want a dark sugar discoloring it, or even making your own powdered sugar and you want it to be a light color like this. And I do have a video on how you can make your own powdered sugar, and yes, you can use other types of sugar if you don't mind the color being different. So the cane sugar is what gets used when I'm making wines and vinegars. Honey is used when you're making mead. That's what sets it apart. That's what gives it its name. Mead is honey wine. So it is made just from honey and water. Any kind of fruit you choose to add to it is totally up to you. I have a whole playlist just on wine and mead making. One is a 4-step 4-video series, and then there's more videos in there about just answering some standard Q&A, and one specifically just on making mead. So I'll link to that playlist down below. I don't use one of my other most stocked sugars, coconut sugar. The reason I don't use this in fermenting, or if I do, I only use little bits of it, is not just because of the color. It's got the color of brown sugar. It has a kind of different flavor. Some people may like it, some may not. I like it for some things, not everything. But one thing I have found is you have to be careful when you're using any kind of brown sugars, any darker sugar. What that usually means is they have a high mineral content because they still have the molasses in them or whatever. And that high mineral content can also slow or stop a ferment. Like when I used to use it in water kefir, when I was using just the coconut sugar, it really took a toll on my water kefir grains, and they kept getting smaller and smaller and not reproducing as they should. So I found I needed to stick with the regular cane sugar for that. You can add a little bit of coconut sugar, but you just have to be careful of your amounts. However, coconut sugar does definitely have its place, especially if you're looking at something that you can add. This is something I'm going to be most likely to use in my sweetbreads. It doesn't taste like coconut, by the way. Just like I talked about in the fat video, it's something I would use in that pineapple banana coconut bread that I had made, or even just regular banana bread, or an apple spice bread. I make up all different kinds. I have like a strawberry banana bread I've made before. Coconut sugar is my go-to when it comes to making that kind of thing. I also add it to my pancake batter and various other types of bread. Anything where I'm wanting to add more minerals, and I don't mind it changing the color of whatever it is I'm making. So I do recommend coconut sugar. This is the one. I have a couple of different brands I've stocked up on. It just depends on what's the cheapest at the time, what I can get through Subscribe and Save on Amazon to save even more money. And this was the most recent one that I have. I don't know what's out there right now because I have so much stocked up that I haven't been stocking up on it in a while. But I will go ahead and link to whichever one I bought before that currently has the best price. So moving on to my other top sugar, I would say with the coconut sugar and the honey, they're probably about comparable about the amount that I stock up on. And so raw honey is one of my other favorite things. Now, I was buying the Glory Bee raw blackberry honey from Costco in the jars because at the time when I first started stocking up on it like this, they weren't carrying it in the buckets. This is a far better deal. And you can also get the clover honey from time to time if you watch the Costco online store, which is going to be a better deal because it's the raw blackberry honey is more expensive than the clover honey, but they're both good honeys as long as they're raw. These come from Oregon, which is fairly close to us. We're in Washington State. But the raw blackberry honey has always been one of my very favorite honeys. Either that or the ones that I get locally from people that keep their own bees. Some of the best tasting honey has been those ones there. So anyway, if you do decide to get it in the jars, the nice thing about these jars is they are pint-sized jars. They have canning size tops, so you can actually recycle these jars and use canning lids on them. Or you can just simply reuse the lid that it came with and vacuum seal whatever in it. So these are great jars. I reuse them all the time. So even if you pay more by buying the case of the jars, if you're needing jars anyway, well, you're still getting some good jars and you're probably getting your money's worth that way. Now, the next several sugars I'm going to mention are ones that I do stock up on, but not near as much. And that would be the maple syrup. Real maple syrup. That's what you want to look for. You go down to the store and you buy some of those brand names down there, whether it be Mrs. Butterworth's or whatever it is. Those are simply corn syrup that has been artificially flavored. Now, real maple syrup is going to come from a maple tree, and there's no need for it to be labeled as organic because it's all organic. So a lot of times companies will add organic to their label simply so they can raise the price of it, because typically organic is more expensive. You shouldn't have to do that as long as it's real maple syrup. But either way, the Kirkland brand maple syrup, labeled organic or not, is still the best price I've seen anywhere, and so that's where I buy it now. So as long as it's real maple syrup, I highly recommend that that's something you put in your arsenal of sugars, because there's many uses for it there, and plus it's just, of course, it's good on pancakes. So I do make my own homemade syrups from wild picked blackberries or raspberries or peaches. Our favorite really when it comes to pancakes. So I like those on pancakes. Still, my favorite is just regular maple syrup. And of course, being that it's maple syrup, it's going to have its own minerals and benefits to it. So most of your sugars, the more processed the sugar is, the more white it is. That means the more stripped it is of any natural minerals that would be in there. Where the more brown you get, the more this is generally speaking, the more minerals are going to be in there, and thus the more health benefits. So, and honey, as we know, especially in its raw form, is going to have a lot of health benefits. And it can be used as a natural antibiotic, both internally and externally. That's why a lot of us like to eat the honey-infused garlic, and I like to put all kinds of other goodies in there, including now adding the black seed to the honey-infused garlic, and I love it. And then another one that I haven't had to stock up in a long time, which is just great, and it's one that it keeps just the way it is, at least I've noticed, is molasses. And I didn't bring any out here, but I bought a 60-pound bucket years ago, and because I don't use it that often, it's lasted me for a long time. But molasses is a great one to stock up on, especially if you like the flavor. Some people don't like the flavor of molasses. I like it in some things. It's really good for making molasses cookies. And the other great thing to keep it on hand for is that you can combine that with your organic cane sugar and make your own brown sugar. So I don't stock up on regular brown sugar because I simply make my own. Because brown sugar is simply white sugar that has not had the molasses removed from it. So if I just stock up on both, and then I can have the molasses for some things and the white sugar, or blonde sugar in this case, for other things, and then when I want brown sugar, I just combine them together. Now I have a video on how I do that, and the amounts are going to be totally up to you depending on how dark and rich you want your brown sugar, but I'll go ahead and link to that video down below. And then just like making powdered sugar, I don't stock up on powdered sugar because I can make my own. So don't forget, I'll put both of those links down below. So anyway, molasses does have its place as well. It's an excellent one. And when I'm in that mood, every now and then I get in the mood. I've never been a big drinker of milk. I love milk, dairy products, but to just drink milk, unless it's nut milk, I've never been crazy about it, just for as long as I can remember. However, one thing I do like, and I like it better than chocolate milk, is molasses milk. It's just one day I had a craving, and I'm sure it was my body telling me I needed the minerals that were in the molasses. And so I mixed it in with some milk and drank it down and loved it. And I thought it was just something I came up with. Then I found out that other people do that. There's certain places in the United States where that's quite common. And if you do that, or if it's really common in your area, your country, share with us down below. I'm curious how many other people drink molasses milk. Patrick's running something out there, so I hope it's not too noisy. I tried to shut some more doors to make it quieter, but anyway, projects still have to get done, and it's a beautiful day out there. So I can't, wait on those things to get done and then shoot my videos, or the videos wouldn't get done. Anyway, the one more sugar I wanted to talk about would be, and I don't have it out here, and that would be the jaggery. And I had heard about it through a few other people who have commented through the years, and I finally decided I would try it. Now, I absolutely adore the flavor of jaggery, and it's kind of the same idea of brown sugar that it's just sugar that still has the molasses in it, but there's something about it that has a more caramel flavor to it than just your standard brown sugar. And it's so good. And I keep it in a bucket just like this, a recycled coconut or honey bucket, whichever one it is, because there I get a lot of things that come in buckets like these, because it just comes in a plastic package, and so you need to have something to put it in when you go to open it up. And it's very soft, but also very clumpy, a lot more so than your regular brown sugar. And anyway, I bought a bigger package, and that one, even though it was the same brand, it didn't have the same wonderful flavor that the first package I had it. But I tried it in a few baked goods, didn't like it as much. Now, I won't be stocking up on any more of it. It was more of an experiment. And since the second batch I ordered was not as good as the first, I decided I'm just not going to do that anymore. Now, I'm going to do a separate video on sweeteners that are non-nutritive sweeteners, whether they be artificial or natural. But I will say that just for the sake of having them on hand for whoever may need them, I do have some of the pure monk fruit extract and some stevia on hand. I do like the flavor of this better than stevia, but you can, if you're keto or diabetic, these are things that I would recommend, but you need to research each individual sweetener yourself to find out what's going to be best for you, because no matter what sweetener it is, it doesn't matter how natural it is, there's going to be some possible side effects, also depending on how much you use it. Now, a lot of us know that have ever tried it. Stevia and monk fruit extract are very powerful sweeteners. You need very little of it. So I find it hard to believe that people would eat too much of it. And though I'm going to cover this in that video, it's one of the things about about a non-nutritive sweetener, something that's not actually sugar, is that's going to be common all the way across the board, is oftentimes it can cause a person to have stronger cravings for real sugar, because your body's getting the taste of sugar without the calories, and your body naturally knows something is missing. So anyways, look into that, and also look into the fact that different things like even stevia and a lot of these different ones can cause digestive problems for people who already have digestive issues. Those are things you might want to stay away from. But I wouldn't shy away from trying to grow your own stevia, because yes, you can grow it pretty easily from seed. Around here I have to do it only in the greenhouse because it does like warmer weather. And monk fruit extract is one of the newer ones, and it doesn't have as much studies done on it and the possible health side effects as stevia does. But it is a popular one. I'm still going to recommend it, but it's one of those things that if you choose to use any of these things, just listen to your body. And if you notice any changes that you know are unhealthy, you find yourself craving unhealthy things more, it might be the sweetener that you're using. But for those who really have to have some kind of sweetener replacement, yes, I do recommend storing up on a good natural stevia that doesn't have any additives to it, and a natural, pure monk fruit extract that doesn't have anything else added to it. And before I finish, I want to remind everyone that you cannot make vinegar with stevia or monk fruit or any other kind of sweetener that's not actually sugar. You can add those, it's not going to hurt it. It's just going to give it a sweet flavor that's probably not going to go away like the sweet flavor would in real sugar, because vinegar needs real sugar to feed on. It can't feed on an extract. Okay, so just so you know that, I get asked that question quite a bit. So no, you cannot use any kind of artificial sweetener in place of sugar to make vinegar. Just remember, when the vinegar's done, it's no longer sugar and water. It is now vinegar, and the sugar's all gone. Now, please share with us down below, what are your favorite sweeteners and sugars to stock up on for long term, and any tips you would like to share with us and how you store it. Well, by the way, most of them get stored either in the packages they came in, like these, because these kind of packages are here are like a foil package, and they're going to keep very well in those, or I store them in buckets like this. So go ahead and share with us also your storage ideas. Remember, almost all of your sugars, real sugars, are going to have an indefinite shelf life. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.